becomes the first team booked to the semi-final. That's the fourth consecutive semi-final trip for Germany at the World Cup, and that becomes a record. Let's take a look at the highlights. 13th minute of play. Here we go. Germans get on the board.
And it was a set piece, well delivered, and it gets on the head of Hummels, the center back, against another center back, Varane, who just gets out-muscled. The pace on is excellent. Lloris cannot come forward, hits it off the crossbar. Brilliant from Germany, 1-0.
But in the second half, Varane gets a chance of his own.
Well, he's trying to make amends for having get beat off the first goal there, and gets up well in between the two center halves, but it just lacks power. There's no way you're beating Neuer with that.
Manuel Neuer, big factor. 69th minute of play. Germans on the counter-attack. Muller wants the ball.
And this is where they're absolutely lethal. As soon as you give it away, they're ready to pounce. And you don't want Muller picking it up there. To be honest with Muller today, he didn't have his radar in. Everything was going just past the post. He wasn't on best form today.
73rd minute of play. Schürrle gets a chance.
Yeah, Schürrle comes off the bench, fresh legs as well, tries his luck. Doesn't quite catch it that well, but Lloris, good goalkeeper. He's not going to let that in. Good lateral movement.
76th minute of play. Mats Hummels scored the goal all over the park.
Yeah, and you think it's Benzema that's going to really try to crack this goose egg for him, and maybe he thinks he does here, but Hummels to the rescue. That's why he starts in the center half.
77th minute of play. Matuidi will be stopped.
Yeah, and the French were keep knocking, and he should have hit that first time. I think as soon as you have a touch, the keeper can get set. That should have been a first-time effort.
Here's Schürrle with a golden opportunity to ice this.
Yeah, first Schürrle misses it, and then it sets up brilliantly well for Schürrle here, and he's just going to come on left foot, just Lloris to beat. Doesn't strike it at all well, but Lloris does a great job making the save, keeping them in it.
Added time, Benzema, golden.
It's just the man you want in that situation. Steers it on his left. At the first glance, that looked like he came off the bar. Well, it didn't take long to realize it's just Neuer with a strong hand. Benzema says, oh my gosh, what do I got to do to beat this guy? What he did on the day.
Three-time World Cup champions from Germany. 1-0 victory over France in the first quarter final of the FIFA 2014 Brazil. It was an even match. France came on at the end but couldn't get the job done. 1-0 victory for the Germans. Going to Rio de Janeiro now, and with some post-game analysis from David Amber, who's on site, as Germany takes the victory over France. David, what do you got?
Well, Scott, I can tell you that the FIFA Fan Fest has taken on a bit of an Oktoberfest flavor right now, because the German fans, they are celebrating, as you mentioned, off to at least the semifinals for their fourth straight World Cup, and it's really what we're accustomed to seeing from the Germans at this stage in the tournament. Pinpoint passing, dominant ball possession early in this match, great stifling defense at times, and of course superlative goaltending as well en route to that 1-0 win. Now it gets interesting, because their next order of business is Tuesday in Belo Horizonte. And here's the thing. You got to imagine the Germans are taking off their sweaters and maybe putting on some Colombian sweaters right about now. Why, you ask? Well, they've never lost in 4 matches to Colombia. A very different story, though, if they do meet Brazil. Just 4 wins in 21 all-time matches against the Brazilians. But it could be a very cool rematch of the 2002 World Cup final, which Brazil beat Germany 2-0. And remember, if they get back here to Rio, the Germans, that is, for the final on July 13th, they have a chance as well to make history. This is the 5th World Cup played here in South America. It has never been won by a European team. The Germans now just 2 wins away from that illustrious history. A lot of work to be done, but of course they'll be keeping a close eye on Colombia and Brazil. Scott?
Thanks so much to David Amber out at Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro. Lloyd, a lot to consider there, but let's focus on the match today. Germany looked full measure for the victory, even though they were apparently ailing a little bit.
Yeah, the Germans, they are the mark of consistency, discipline. I mean, they personify that to a T. And, you know, it's just so important set pieces in this game. We know that, and the Germans obviously know that. So it's no coincidence that, for me, they won this game on a set piece, because that's a big part of any team's success, John, going forward. And the Germans, for me, it's just straight down the line. They know exactly what to do on both sides of the ball to get the result.
Look, it was a typical quarter-final for me. It was a defensive, cagey affair. And I think when it's a cagey affair, it comes down to the defence, and the Germans were outstanding today. We had some questions, Craig, early on whether or not the Germans were going to be strong enough. They were brilliant. They had a compact defence. Their recovery runs were outstanding, and they nullified the French's strategy, which was to play through. there was no way through.
And all the criticism they got at home after the last game against Algeria, I think they'll be looking at that saying that was much better. And now for the Germans, if there was some flu symptoms, we didn't really see too much of that, but if there was, it's going to take a lot out of them, and they'll need to get back and get themselves healthy for the semifinals.
Okay, so it's a 1-0 victory for Germany over France. We'll be back after this with more analysis. Andy Petrillo, as well a look ahead to the next game that we will consider, Brazil versus Colombia, as the World Cup rolls on CBC.